It is OG Sports Rap on Sports Rap Radio Network and Substack. Thanks for coming along for the ride. You know, it's March and the madness of the NCAA tournament was crazy over the weekend. I got some thoughts about the full thing once it gets down to the field of 68, but I got to give dap to Meac champion Howard and in particular Coach Kenny Blakeney. Now, Kenny Blakeney is another one of these Duke prodigies who's come from the Mike Krzyzewski tree. Only his journey now has had him at Howard, and I just find it ironic that Nolan Smith, who also is a Duke guy, is now head coaching at Tennessee State. So apparently, as many games as Coach K was winning at Duke, as many games and nights that just gave me simple terror because at the time, mostly before Maryland jumped into the Big Ten, they were a foil of Duke. And I can remember some of the great moments in college basketball when Duke under Mike Krzyzewski and Maryland under Gary Williams got together and hooked up. Now, of all the coaches that have come from the tree, and everybody knows of the J.J. Redick with the Lakers. You've got John Shire doing a great job at Duke right now. Bobby Hurley himself was a coach until earlier this year. So you look at the basketball minds, and then there's like athletic mind like Jay Billis, who's just something next level. Coach K had a recipe for developing talent and you know, great players and people who went out did tremendous things in the future. But let us not get this twisted. There's a tremendous job by a person who's part of that Howard University family from the Duke tree. His name's Kenny Blakeney, and 3 out of the last 4 years, he's taken the Howard Bison to the Meac championship and ultimately to the NCAA tournament. But the most significant thing that he's done is A, he's graduated his student athletes. B, he's been able to add to a brand of HBCU culture that is second to none. I mean, you got to remember, Howard is a school that gave us Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall. It's also the same school that gave us former Vice President Kamala Harris. So what Kenny Blakeney is doing is killing the notion that you can't play sports and be at a smart school. And I think that's something that gets is not being told enough. And I think it has something to do with that because that means you would have to admit that there is excellence at HBCUs. And you know who I'm talking about too. Okay. Now, it was always said, you know, we don't necessarily focus on winning championships. We go out and we, you know, make legends in business and entertainment and athletics here recently, right? So don't tell me it can't be done. And it is being done. And I'm watching the mastery of Kenny Blakeney. I remember a few years ago with a hot commodity in the Meac, and I don't mean this as a diss, okay? Because I know the people in the Meac always have a tendency to get sensitive about what I'm saying. But there was a time where Lavelle Moten, coach at North Carolina Central, who had his team in the finals, I might add, can't take nothing away from him. But there were a lot of people that were talking about him as the next HBCU coach to step up and get his shot at a Division I, you know, power program, or at least a mid-major. It never came to be. And I'm looking at the same situation play off because both of these coaches, Moten at Central and Kenny Blakeney at Howard, had a stretch where the conference was theirs. Okay, let's be clear for a while. Maybe 10 years or so ago, when Central came to town, there was a little nerves that were, being felt by those in the stands and sometimes on the bench as well. Kenny Blakeney has done that with his Duke philosophy, if you will, of coaching, developing talent, and grooming people for life after basketball. And I think that when you have a coach who is doing this, because let's be real, Howard is not quite a mid-major program. I'm don't know what the salary is per se, but I can't see it being $500,000. I just don't see that. Now I could be wrong, but that's neither here nor there. But there are options when you have a coach like that, and I'm sure he is fielding a lot of calls and is one of the most passionate people about the success primarily of young Black American kids, but of the school that he works for. And remember, he came from Duke, okay? And let's be clear for a second. Duke is suddenly being sprinkled all over HBCU basketball. I mean, you got Nolan Smith at Tennessee State now, coming off of that same tree that is giving you the likes of, John Shire right now at Duke, getting ready for the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about J.J. Redick with the Los Angeles Lakers, getting ready for the NBA's tournament. I mean, Grant Hill, now president of USA Basketball, helping to build a roster for the dream team of the Los Angeles Olympics, if they're held, but that's a topic for another show. Still, the bright minds in basketball right now seem to be coming from the Mike Krzyzewski tree. Now, and again, sometimes a man's brilliance is understated. Sometimes it's overrated. I don't think we truly appreciate the impact that Coach K is having on basketball now that he's gone. And now that the tentacles are certainly moving towards HBCU sports, hey, look, you got to give credit where credit is due. I don't know where that passion comes from. I would assume Kenny, being a DMV guy, wants to bring happiness to the DMV. I mean, let's be real for a second. He's done something that Maryland has not done in the last couple years. Let's go to the NCAA tournament. How about that? Yeah, but this is not a school that cares about sports. Come on, man. What better marketing tool for your program than nationally televised athletics winning championships? That is the name of the game. And they did it, and they did it once again. So, I mean, Howard doesn't necessarily need a spike of anything. I mean, they really don't. Fine university in the nation's capital, the brand amongst HBCU elite institutions, they stand with no other. So you figure, what is the model that Howard is using in order to do daring things in intercollegiate athletics that most, I will say, mortal programs find it difficult to do? And I got to give, the athletic director, Kerry Davis, his props, because they have been creative in the partnerships that they have developed to create a brand that needs to be amplified more. The only thing next for Kenny Blakeney to do is to win a game, not in the first round of the tournament, but in the second, and take a team to the Sweet 16. And it's not like it can't happen at Howard. The blueprint is there. And you see a lot of other schools, and that's why you got to keep an eye on the Ohio Valley Conference, on Tennessee State, because Nolan Smith, another DMV guy, another DMV brother, all right, can't get an opportunity in the ACC, the beloved old ACC, where everybody's family, unless you're dark, right? Let's be real for a second. A spade is a spade, no pun intended. But I'm just looking at the impact that Coach K's guys are really not even using. And I don't see Kenny Blakeney making any plans to leave Howard anytime soon. I don't know if he's on anybody's radar, which is amazing to me. I mean, if I'm Jim Smith, the athletic director at the University of Maryland, certainly when Buzz Williams runs out of, love for Maryland like he did at Texas A&M, like he did at Marquette, I mean, he's going to step off within next two, let's say 24, 36 months. All right. I'm not saying that I want to see Kenny Blakely leave the Meac, but it's about time we started throwing his name around like they were throwing other names around, 7, 8 years ago, because the guy's doing a brilliant job. Game recognizes game. All right. You got to give credit where credit is due. And in Kenny Blakely's case, I'll say this. I have no problem with the notion that he is out kicking the coverage, if you will. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes you can be doing so much. I mean, 3 Meac men's basketball championships in 4 years. If you put it in some historical context, and I don't mean to be blasphemous or disrespectful, but I mean, this is beyond A.B. Williamson. It's in the rarefied era of Sonia Tyler on the women's side. I mean, this is amazing stuff to watch, and it's going to be there for a minute. We don't hear any of the flirtations. It's all about HU for their basketball coach. He's doing a great job at grooming others to go out. Nolan Smith being one of them, who was part of his bench last year, the one time in the last 4 years that they haven't represented their conference in the NCAA tournament. So all I can say is, as a card-carrying fan of HBCU sports who recognizes when you're in a moment of greatness, hey, let's take a step back and smell the coffee on this one, y'all. Seriously, Howard, appreciate this. They hadn't been like this before. Enjoy the era. However long it is, don't know how long it's going to be, but I mean, even the great eras come to an end. Camelot came to an end. All right. The CBS News came to an end. Right. We've had so many things that in the moment we truly didn't appreciate, and I think that's where I want to make sure that people don't just take this for granted. It's hard to win a championship, number one. Number two, it's hard to win the regular season title and the conference championship itself. Because in our conferences, Meac and SWAC, as we talk Division I basketball here, there is no at-large. You got one ticket that'll be punched more than likely to the playoff game, or the play-in game, if you will, the first round, like they sanitize it these days, and you shoot your shot. And living by that criteria right now, and you start put a best title around a college basketball coach or a program, I don't think it's too far at this moment in time to step out on that limb and to say that the best HBCU men's basketball program right now is at Howard University. And in this, what would have normally have been a graduating classes stretch, he's won 3 of 4 Meac championships. Show me who's better. Certainly not in Division I. I am Professor G. Mark Gray. Don't forget, you can find me weeknights from 9 to 11 p.m. East Coast time and 6 to 8 out west for OG Sports Rap on the network. Download our mobile app, because we all we got. And if you miss anything, follow me on Substack at Sports Rap OG.